Hello everyone, welcome back. In our previous videos of our series on software testing, we explained the first three levels of testing in details. That is unit testing, integration testing and system testing. In this video, however, we will explain the fourth and the last level of testing, that is acceptance testing. So let's get started with it. Now, what is acceptance testing? Well, acceptance testing is the final testing phase before releasing the software to actual customers. In acceptance testing, the focus is to ensure that the software meets the acceptance criteria. Now, what exactly is the acceptance criteria and how is it different from requirement specification? To understand this, let's have a broader look. We tested the software's functionality in the last phase, which is system testing, where we tested the entire system from the functional perspective to check if it follows all the requirements in the requirement specification document. This testing is mainly done by the QA team. Now, once the system testing is done and all the issues reported in system testing are fixed, the QA team gives a thumbs up to the software and it moves into the acceptance testing phase. Here, the testing will be done by stakeholders like the product owner, business analysts, and some specific users from customers' side. Also, the data set that will be loaded into the system will be the production data. In system testing, the QA team tested the software with dummy data as per their understanding. But in acceptance testing, the software will first be deployed to the UAT environment and actual production data will be loaded to it. Then people like business analysts, product owners and customers will do some testing on it. Developers will have no access to the UAT environment and only selected members from QA team will have the access to the UAT environment so that they can also support in acceptance testing. Basically, in acceptance testing, we need to make sure that the system works actually exactly for the people who are going to use it, which is why some of the actual users from the customer side are included in this phase. It's the final confirmation that everything is functioning properly from the end user's perspective. If we skip this step, we might release something that doesn't really solve the problem it was supposed to, leading to unhappy customers and potentially big issues down the line. There are few types of acceptance testing, each serving a slightly different purpose. Let's look at them one by one and understand what will be done in each type with examples. What is user acceptance testing? User acceptance testing is the first type of acceptance testing. User acceptance testing or UAT is where actual people who are going to use the system get their hands on the system to see if it really works for them. For example, if we are building a hospital management software, then in user acceptance testing, some of the doctors, nurses, admin staff will get their hands on the system, since they are the ones who will be using the hospital management system every day. We need to make sure that it actually helps them to do their jobs like registering patients, booking appointments, or checking medical records, etc. User acceptance testing is further divided into two different levels, alpha testing and beta testing. Now, what is alpha testing? Alpha testing is like a trial run done internally before the system is shown to the real users. In this, the software is installed on a special test environment that will have the production data. This test environment will be maintained by the company that is actually developing the product. Then some users from the customer's side, some testing team members, the product owner and other stakeholders will test the software in this environment. When alpha testing is done, another type of user acceptance testing starts, which is called as beta testing. Now, what is beta testing? In beta testing, the software will be installed on some of the machines of the customer's premises and will be tested by the group of actual users. For example, if the software is for large hospital chain, it will be installed on some of the machines in selected hospitals to make sure that it works fine. It's like a soft launch to get the real feedback. Now, instead of going live in a big bang manner, some customer locations start using the system live. Doctors and nurses at these locations will use it for their daily work like booking appointments, managing patient records, etc. They will give the feedback on what works well and what doesn't. It's like giving the system a test drive before rolling it out for everyone. Beta testing is important because it is the best way to catch any last minute issues or get real world feedback. Beta testing helps us make sure that system is ready for prime time. So alpha and beta are two types of user acceptance testing, and they are important because they test if the software works for the actual users. If a system doesn't work for the actual users, it's pretty much useless. So user acceptance testing is our last chance to make sure that the system is really ready for the people who will be using it every day. Now next is business acceptance testing. Business acceptance testing or BAT is all about making sure that the system meets the bigger goals, like if it helps the business in improving their processes and if it is actually going to help them. For example, if we are making a software for a big global hospital chain, it's not just about whether the system works properly or not, but whether it's going to help the hospital run better overall. In business acceptance testing, the business folks like managers or analysts check if the system is going to save time, cut the costs, or improve patient care, which are the reasons they invested in this software at the first place. For example, suppose the hospital chain wanted a new system to reduce the patient wait times, then during the business acceptance testing, they'll look at whether the system is actually making the appointment bookings process faster and more efficient. If it doesn't solve the problem, then the system might need some more tweaks before it can be rolled out. Business acceptance testing is important because even if the software is working technically correct, if it doesn't help the business to achieve its goals, then it's not doing its job. BAT makes sure that it's delivering real value. Next is contract acceptance testing. Now, what is contract acceptance testing? Contract acceptance testing or CAT is where we check if the system meets the specific terms laid out in the contract. This is more of a formal check to ensure that everything promised to the customer in the contract has been delivered. For example, suppose we are building a software for a global hospital chain and the contract states that the software should support the multi-language features. Then during CAT, they will check to see if it really does that or not. They might test by switching between English, Spanish, French, etc. to see if everything translates properly and works as expected. Contract acceptance testing is important because if the system doesn't meet the contract terms, the customer could reject it or demand changes, which could lead to delays or even legal issues. So, contract acceptance testing helps companies to avoid these issues. What is regulation acceptance testing? Regulation acceptance testing is the fourth type of acceptance testing. Regular acceptance testing or RAT is all about making sure that the system complies with all the laws and regulations it needs to. This is especially important if we are building software for different customers in different countries, where there are numerous rules about data, privacy, and safety, etc. For instance, if our software is for a global hospital chain, then it needs to comply with the healthcare data protection laws like HIPAA in US or GDPR in Europe. During regulation acceptance testing, they'll check if the system handles patient data in a way that it meets all these regulations, like encrypting sensitive information and ensuring only authorized staff can access it. Regulation acceptance testing is important because if the software doesn't comply with the regulations, the hospital could face fines, lawsuits, or even be forced to shut down the system until it's fixed. Regulation acceptance testing helps to make sure that we are on the right side of the law. Next is operation acceptance testing. Now, what is operational acceptance testing? Operational acceptance testing is the final type of acceptance testing to make sure that the system is ready to be used in the real world. It focuses on the operational aspects of the software, like whether it can be properly managed, supported, and maintained once it goes live. In operational acceptance testing, we verify backup and recovery aspects of the software, like whether it can be backed up and restored without issues. Then security aspects of the software, like whether all the security measures are in place to protect the system from threats. We also focus on software's performance to test whether the whole system performs well under the expected load. Then we also test the software for disaster recovery, like what happens if there's a major failure that can happen in the system, if it can be recovered quickly or not. Lastly, the support processes are verified to ensure that the help desk and the IT support systems are ready with proper training and knowledge to manage the troubleshoot of the system. In short, operational acceptance testing is all about making sure that once the software goes live, it stays reliable, secure, and maintainable over a long period of time. It's the final safety net before the system is fully handed over for everyday use by the customer. So these were the different types of acceptance testing, and each type helps us make sure that the software is ready from different angles, whether it's from the user's perspective, the business goals, the contract terms, legal requirements, or operational aspects. So that's all for this video. In the next video, we will cover more topics related to software testing. Don't forget to like and subscribe Management Bliss channel for more videos like this.